Hey neighbor, we're going to talk about a simple technique you can use in your vegetable garden to help you get the most out of your fertilizer. And that technique is preloading or pre-fertilization, pre-planting, but there's several ways you can do that. So pre-plant or preloading your soil is just simply a technique of adding nutrients and compost before you plant. Now here's a technique that I found just works for me, and that is laying off my garden rows and putting my preload, my compost and my fertilizers directly in the fur, not all over the garden. And I read a study recently that was released that said when you do that, it minimizes your weed control. Think about that. You know, we're not fertilizing out there where our weeds grow. We're only going to put that compost and that fertilizer in our fur, and that helps reduce our weed load, our weed population in our garden. So the first thing you want to do is lay off your rows. We got a row marker you can do that with, or you could just take some temporary fence posts and some strings to lay off your rows. What I'm laying off today is my corn patch, and I'm laying it off on 36-inch rows. And right here, folks, is the secret sauce, compost. I'm a big believer in using compost pre-plant. It does all kind of things. Now, most people have a few problems in the garden, with the exception of adjusting your pH. This right here will solve just about any problem you may have nutrient-wise in your garden. I'm not sure everybody understands the total benefits of compost. Compost does several different things. It acts like a sponge in your soil. So all that fertility that you add, that fertilizer, whether it be organic or synthetic, this compost is going to hold it till it's available to the plant. And also, it's going to make it work so much better. It's loaded with beneficial bacteria such as mycorrhiza and these acids, fulvic acid, humic acid, that breaks those fertilizer down and make them available to the plant. So we've got our compost out, and this is going to be the sponge, the facilitator to make our fertilizer work better and work more properly. Now the compost within itself has all kind of nutrients in it. May not be at a very high level, but it has just about everything in it we need. But we need to add more to it because it didn't have enough of some of the nutrients for the plant growth that we want. Now there's a couple of different ways we can do this as far as adding our fertilizer in there. This time of year, early spring, I like to use organic fertilizers. Now you can use fresh manures if you have them, if you have access to good chicken manure or horse manure or cow manure. As long as it's not been contaminated, it's fine to use those. With fresh manures, you want to put them out with your compost anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks before time of planting. Those fresh manures are high in salt content, so that allows them to work into the soil and to break down some so that you don't get burned and some of those bad bugs get worked out so you don't have to worry about any kind of contamination. Now, one of the products I love to use is our organic fertilizer. We call that our complete organic fertilizer. Now this is a composted hen manure that's dried, so I can put this out up to a week before planting. Now the rate on this is about 1 cup for every 20 feet. You kind of have to get the feel out how to put this out. I like to put it in something and just kind of shake it out. Now mind you, I'm not putting it all over the garden. I'm just putting it in the row where I'm going to plant. Now you could also use a synthetic fertilizer such as our all-in-one 10-10-10. I prefer to use an organic fertilizer if I have time. Now, if I don't have time and I have to put something out at planting, I'm going to use a synthetic because it acts quicker. Also, if I'm doing something that's a really fast-growing plant, such as a greens mix or something like that grows off in 30 to 45 days, I'm probably going to use the synthetic as my pre-plant. As I said, this here works quicker. So if you find yourself in a situation where you pushed on time and you got to have everything done quicker, you probably want to go with a synthetic instead of an organic. Organic is my choice if you have the time. Now when we move on to side dressing or fertilizing after our plants get up, the synthetics are my choice because they are so much quicker. Okay, it's important after we got our compost down and our fertilizer in to work this into the soil. And the reason we want to do that is we want to get that soil alive, get that soil working. Now we've got it worked into the soil so that soil can come alive. Those microbes can start feeding, converting that fertilizer over so it's usable to the plant. Okay neighbors, so here's some strategies you need to use in your vegetable garden to be successful. Have a compost strategy. Whether you buy it or whether you make your own, you need a good compost strategy because that stuff's just like gold in your garden. Number 2, use some type of fertilizer pre-plant. If you have the time and you could do it in advance, I prefer an organic. Use fresh manures if you got plenty of time. If you don't have that much time, you can use something like our complete organic fertilizer. Or if you don't have time and you're having to use a fertilizer pre-plant at planting time, or you're growing one of those fast growing crops, use a synthetic balanced fertilizer such as our 10-10-10 all-in-one. What you will find is those plants get off to a lot better start, and they're not starving for nutrients, and they pop and grow, and you grow a very nice plant and have a wonderful harvest.